Thousands of years ago, Thoth possessed a form of magic so powerful it terrified rulers, priests, and empires. So they didn't destroy it, they erased it. What you're about to hear is the knowledge they never wanted humanity to remember. Thoth's power was unlike anything ordinary mortals could comprehend. It was not fire conjured from the hands or storms summoned from the sky. It was subtler, more dangerous, and infinitely more enduring. His magic was the magic of wisdom itself, the ability to understand the hidden laws of the cosmos, to bend reality through knowledge, and to awaken the eternal spark within the human soul. This was not entertainment, it was transformation, and transformation, in the eyes of rulers, was a threat. The priests whispered of tablets inscribed with emerald light, of rituals that could open gateways between worlds, of words that could shape destiny. To the unprepared, these were terrifying ideas. To the initiated, they were the keys to eternity. And so, the power of Thoth was hidden, erased from common memory, preserved only in fragments and symbols that would puzzle generations to come. The rulers of Egypt understood that knowledge was power, and power in the wrong hands was chaos. Thoth's teachings promised liberation, immortality of the soul, ascension of consciousness, mastery of cosmic laws. To grant such wisdom freely would have undermined the authority of kings and priests. If every farmer, scribe, or artisan realized they carried eternity within themselves, the structures of empire would crumble. Thus, the knowledge was forbidden, hidden behind allegory, reserved for initiates who had proven their discipline and balance. And yet, despite every attempt to erase it, the whispers of Thoth's forbidden magic survived. They traveled across deserts, sailed across seas, and slipped into the minds of philosophers who carried them into new lands. The power of Thoth was never truly destroyed, only concealed, waiting for those who dared to seek it. If you love mythology and history from all cultures and forbidden ancient stories, subscribe, because this channel reveals the secrets behind every myth. And let me know from where you're watching, preferably while yawning like a sleepy historian who accidentally nodded off in the library. The wisdom of Thoth was not forbidden because it was false, but because it was too liberating. In the temples of ancient Egypt, rulers and priests understood that knowledge was power, and power in the hands of the many could unravel the carefully woven fabric of empire. Thoth's teachings spoke of immortality of the soul, ascension of consciousness, and mastery of cosmic laws. These were not promises of wealth or conquest, but revelations that every human carried eternity within themselves. Imagine the danger this posed to authority. If a farmer realized his spirit was eternal, he might question why he should bow to a king. If a scribe discovered that words could shape reality, he might wonder why only priests were allowed to speak sacred chants. If artisans learned that balance between light and darkness was the true path to harmony, they might see no need for rulers to dictate morality. The forbidden nature of Thoth's wisdom lay in its ability to shift power from the few to the many. Thus, the knowledge was hidden. Priests encoded it in symbols, cloaked it in allegory, and reserved it for initiates who had proven discipline and humility. To the masses, it was erased, replaced with rituals that maintained order but concealed deeper truths. The emerald tablets, said to contain Thoth's teachings, were written in riddles, precisely so that only the prepared could understand them. The decision to forbid this knowledge was not made lightly. It was a safeguard, a way to prevent chaos, yet it also ensured that humanity remained in ignorance. waiting for a time when it might be ready to awaken. The forbidden wisdom of Thoth was not destroyed, it was concealed, preserved in fragments, waiting for seekers who dared to look beyond the surface. Thoth was not merely a deity carved into stone or painted on temple walls. He was the living embodiment of intellect, balance, and sacred order in the Egyptian worldview, depicted with the head of the ibis, a bird known for its precision and grace. Thoth symbolized clarity of thought and the meticulous recording of truth. He was the divine scribe, the inventor of writing, the keeper of time, and the mediator between gods and humans. His role was vast and multifaceted. In myths, Thoth weighed the hearts of the dead against the feather of Mat, ensuring justice in the afterlife. He was the one who spoke the words that brought the universe into order, the one who recorded every decree of the gods, and the one who taught humanity the arts of calculation, astronomy, and language. To invoke Thoth was to seek wisdom beyond mortality, a wisdom that could illuminate the soul and align it with cosmic harmony. But Thoth was also the god of magic. His magic was not chaotic or theatrical. It was ordered, precise, and rooted in the eternal laws of the cosmos. He understood that sound carried vibration, that words shaped reality, and that symbols encoded truths too profound for ordinary speech. His magic was the bridge between the seen and the unseen, the material and the spiritual. This duality, wisdom and magic, made Thoth both revered and feared. To the priests, he was the patron of sacred knowledge, the guardian of rituals, the one who ensured that ceremonies aligned with cosmic order. To rulers, however, his teachings carried danger. For if ordinary people learned that they could access divine wisdom directly, without intermediaries, the authority of kings and temples would weaken. Thus Thoth became both a god of reverence and a figure of caution. His wisdom was celebrated in hymns, his image carved into temple walls, but his deepest teachings were hidden, encoded, and reserved for initiates. He was the god who gave humanity the gift of writing, yet the most forbidden words were kept secret. He was the god who measured time, yet his timeless truths were concealed from the masses. In the end, Thoth's legacy was one of paradox, a god of openness and concealment, of wisdom and forbidden magic, of balance and danger. His presence lingered not only in Egypt but across cultures, carried into Greece as Hermes Trismegistus, and into the hearts of seekers who sensed that beneath the surface of myth lay truths too powerful to be spoken aloud. In the grand temples of ancient Egypt, two forces coexisted uneasily: religion and magic. Religion was the public face of devotion, filled with rituals, offerings, and ceremonies designed to honor the gods and maintain cosmic order. It was structured, predictable, and carefully controlled by the priesthood. Magic, however, was something different, a hidden current running beneath the surface, a force that promised direct access to divine power without the need for intermediaries. Thoth stood at the center of this tension. As the god of wisdom and magic, he embodied the possibility that humans could commune with the cosmos directly. His teachings suggested that sacred words, symbols, and sounds could alter reality, heal the sick, or even guide the soul beyond death. Religion demanded obedience to ritual. Magic offered empowerment through knowledge. For rulers and priests, this was a dangerous contradiction. The priests of religion feared that if magic spread unchecked, their authority would crumble. Why rely on temple ceremonies if one could invoke cosmic laws through Thoth's forbidden wisdom? Why bow before kings if immortality was already within reach? To preserve order, magic was branded as dangerous, even heretical, while religion was promoted as safe, sanctioned, and necessary. Yet the truth was more complex. Magic and religion were not opposites, but intertwined. Every ritual carried echoes of Thoth's teachings. Every hymn contained fragments of forbidden wisdom. The difference lay in access. Religion was for the masses. Magic was reserved for initiates. The emerald tablets, encoded in riddles, ensured that only those prepared for balance and discipline could unlock the deeper truths. Thus, in ancient Egypt, magic and religion danced together in a delicate balance. Religion maintained order, while magic whispered of liberation. The tension between the two was never resolved, but it ensured that Thoth's wisdom remained both revered and feared. The emerald tablets are among the most mysterious relics of ancient lore, often described as glowing slabs inscribed with the wisdom of Thoth. Whether they were ever physical emerald stones or purely symbolic texts remains uncertain, but their reputation has endured for centuries. They were said to contain the distilled essence of forbidden knowledge, truths about immortality, ascension, and the hidden laws that govern reality. The tablets did not read like ordinary instructions. They were written in riddles, layered with allegory, and encoded in symbols that demanded patience and insight. To the uninitiated, they appeared incomprehensible, a puzzle of strange words and cosmic metaphors. To the prepared, however, they were maps of the soul's journey, guiding seekers toward eternal truth. One of their most famous teachings was the principle of as above, so below. This phrase suggested that the patterns of the cosmos were reflected in the human spirit, that the microcosm and macrocosm were united. It was not simply a poetic idea, but a key to understanding how consciousness and reality were intertwined. The tablets also spoke of cycles of birth and death, of light and darkness, of the eternal nature of the soul. Alchemists of the Middle Ages believed the tablets contained the secret of transmutation, the ability to turn base metals into gold. Philosophers saw them as guides to enlightenment, while mystics treated them as sacred texts pointing toward ascension. Each interpretation revealed fragments of truth, but the deeper meaning remained hidden, accessible only to those who approached with humility and discipline. The emerald tablets were forbidden not because they were false, but because they were too powerful. They suggested that immortality was not granted by kings or priests, but discovered within. They hinted that reality itself could be shaped by knowledge, that words and symbols carried forces capable of transformation. To rulers, this was dangerous. To seekers, it was liberating. Thus, the emerald tablets became both legend and guide, a forbidden treasure of wisdom, erased from common memory, yet preserved in fragments across cultures. Their mystery endures because they speak not only of ancient Egypt, but of timeless truths, whispering that the soul's journey is eternal, and that hidden knowledge waits patiently for those who dare to seek it. The wisdom of Thoth was never written in plain words for all to read. Instead, it was concealed within the intricate language of symbols, a code that demanded patience, discipline, and insight to unlock. Ancient Egypt thrived on symbolism. Every carving, every hieroglyph, every gesture in ritual carried layers of meaning far beyond its surface. To the untrained eye, these were decorations. To the initiated, they were keys to forbidden knowledge. A bird etched into stone was not merely a bird. It could represent flight, spirit, divine communication, or the soul's journey beyond death. A circle was not simply a shape. It was eternity, the endless cycle of birth and rebirth, the cosmic wheel turning without end. Even colors carried hidden truths: green for regeneration, black for fertility and the mysteries of the underworld, gold for the eternal light of the gods. Thoth's teachings were encoded in these symbols so that only those prepared to see beyond appearances could understand. The emerald tablets themselves were said to be written in riddles, their truths layered in metaphors. As above, so below was not just a phrase, but a symbol of correspondence, a reminder that the human soul reflected the cosmos, and that the smallest act echoed across eternity. Priests guarded these symbols carefully. They taught initiates how to read hieroglyphs not as letters, but as living forces. A single glyph could carry multiple meanings, depending on context, ritual, and intention. This complexity ensured that forbidden wisdom could not be misused by the unprepared. To outsiders, the symbols were indecipherable. To seekers, they were maps of reality. The secrecy of symbols also protected knowledge from erasure. Conquerors could burn scrolls and topple temples, but symbols carved into stone endured. Even when their meanings were forgotten, they remained, waiting for rediscovery. In this way, Thoth's wisdom survived across centuries, hidden in plain sight, encoded in the art and architecture of Egypt. The danger of symbols was their ambiguity. Misinterpreted, they could lead to confusion or arrogance. Properly understood, they revealed truths too powerful to be spoken aloud. This was the genius of Thoth's concealment. Wisdom was preserved, but only those who approached with humility and discipline could unlock it. Thus, the secrets hidden in ancient symbols were not merely artistic flourishes. They were the guardians of forbidden knowledge, silent sentinels carved into stone, whispering across time that truth is never erased, only hidden, waiting for eyes ready to see. The forbidden wisdom of Thoth did not vanish by accident. It was deliberately concealed, suppressed, and in many cases erased. Throughout history, rulers, priests, and empires recognized the dangerous potential of his teachings. They understood that knowledge of immortality, cosmic laws, and reality-shaping magic could empower ordinary people, undermining the structures of authority that kept societies in order. And so, the campaign to silence Thoth's wisdom began. In ancient Egypt, pharaohs themselves were cautious. While they invoked Thoth in rituals to legitimize their reign, they also restricted access to his deeper teachings. Only select priests, purified through initiation, were allowed to study fragments of the emerald tablets. The masses were given ceremonies and myths, but the true knowledge was hidden behind layers of allegory. Later, when foreign powers conquered Egypt, the erasure intensified. The Persians, Greeks, and Romans each sought to control the wisdom they encountered. Some preserved fragments, translating them into new languages, but others destroyed temples and burned scrolls, fearing that forbidden knowledge could spark rebellion or destabilize their rule. The most dramatic attempts came during the rise of organized religions and empires that demanded strict orthodoxy. In these eras, anything resembling magic was condemned as heresy. Libraries were burned, manuscripts lost, and seekers silenced. The teachings of Thoth were branded dangerous, associated with sorcery, and pushed into the shadows. Yet, erasure was never complete. For every scroll destroyed, a fragment survived. For every temple toppled, a carving remained. For every priest silenced, a whisper carried forward. The wisdom of Thoth proved resilient, slipping through the cracks of history, resurfacing in Hermetic philosophy, alchemy, and mysticism. Those who tried to erase Thoth's teachings underestimated the endurance of symbols and the persistence of seekers. Knowledge, once revealed, cannot truly be destroyed. It can be hidden, suppressed, or distorted, but it lingers, waiting for rediscovery. The campaign to erase Thoth's wisdom became part of its legend, ensuring that the forbidden magic was remembered precisely because so many tried to make it disappear. The forbidden wisdom of Thoth was not hidden simply because it was profound. It was hidden because it was perilous. To those who sought it without preparation, the teachings could become a trap rather than a path. The Emerald Tablets spoke of immortality, ascension, and the unity of cosmic forces. But these ideas were easily misunderstood. Misinterpretation could lead to obsession, arrogance, or imbalance, turning seekers into prisoners of their own ambition. One danger lay in the pursuit of immortality. The tablets described the eternal nature of the soul, yet many took this to mean physical immortality. Kings and alchemists alike dreamed of defying death, clinging to the body as though eternity could be bottled. But the tablets warned that such obsession led only to ruin. True immortality was the awakening of consciousness, not the preservation of flesh. Another danger was the imbalance of light and darkness. Thoth's wisdom taught that both forces must be harmonized, yet seekers often leaned too far into extremes. To chase only light was to become blind to shadow. To dwell only in darkness was to lose sight of truth. The danger was not in the forces themselves, but in failing to balance them. The most subtle danger was power without discipline. Words, sounds, and symbols carried immense force. To speak them without understanding was to unleash energies that could distort reality. Priests warned that careless use of sacred chants or rituals could bring chaos instead of harmony. Knowledge without humility was a weapon, and Thoth's teachings demanded responsibility. Finally, there was the danger of humanity's readiness. The ancients believed that certain truths could not be revealed until the world was prepared. To hand cosmic wisdom to the unprepared was to invite confusion, arrogance, or destruction. Thus, the knowledge was concealed, waiting for seekers who had proven themselves through patience and balance. The danger of Thoth's wisdom was not in the teachings themselves, but in the way humans approached them. With humility, they were a path to enlightenment. With arrogance, they were a path to ruin. This paradox ensured that the forbidden magic remained hidden, whispered only to those who understood that true power lies not in domination, but in harmony. The forbidden wisdom of Thoth was not limited to abstract philosophy or poetic allegory. It carried with it the promise of magic so profound that it could alter the very fabric of existence. This was not sleight of hand or illusion, but a deeper understanding of how consciousness interacts with the cosmos. To those who grasped it, reality itself became pliable, shaped by intention, sound, and symbol. Thoth's magic taught that words were not mere sounds, but vibrations that resonated with the hidden laws of the universe. A chant spoken with precision could heal the sick, calm storms, or open pathways between realms. Symbols carved into stone were not decorations, but living forces, each glyph a key to unlocking cosmic energies. Rituals performed with balance and discipline could align the soul with eternal order, shifting the boundaries between the seen and unseen. This was the kind of magic that terrified rulers and priests. If ordinary people discovered that reality could be shaped by knowledge, the authority of kings would crumble. Why obey decrees when one could speak words that carried divine power? Why fear death when the soul could ascend beyond it? The danger was not in the magic itself, but in its potential to liberate humanity from control. The emerald tablets hinted at this reality-shaping power. As above, so below was more than a phrase. It was a formula, a reminder that the patterns of the cosmos mirrored those of the human spirit. To understand this correspondence was to realize that the smallest act could ripple outward, altering the balance of the universe. Alchemists later interpreted this as the ability to transmute metals, turning lead into gold. Mystics saw it as the power to transform the soul. Philosophers treated it as a metaphor for harmony. Yet, beneath all interpretations lay the same truth. Thoth's magic was the art of transformation, the ability to change reality by aligning with eternal laws. This was why the knowledge was forbidden. It was too powerful, too liberating, too dangerous in the hands of the unprepared. To wield it required humility, discipline, and balance. Without these, reality-shaping magic could lead not to enlightenment, but to chaos. Thus, the magic of Thoth remained hidden, whispered only to initiates, encoded in symbols, preserved in fragments. It was a power that could change reality, a forbidden current flowing beneath history, waiting for those who dared to seek it with reverence and responsibility. The forbidden wisdom of Thoth did not simply vanish into the sands of time. It was carefully guarded by those entrusted with its preservation. These were the priests of Egypt, men who lived not only as keepers of ritual, but as custodians of cosmic truth. Their role was not to wield the magic recklessly, nor to spread it freely, but to protect it until humanity was ready to understand. Initiation into this circle was no simple matter. A priest had to undergo purification, discipline, and years of training before being allowed even a glimpse of Thoth's deeper teachings. They learned to read hieroglyphs not as mere letters, but as living forces, each symbol a key to hidden realities. They memorized chants that resonated with the vibrations of the cosmos, words that could heal or transform when spoken with precision. They practiced rituals that aligned the soul with eternal order, ensuring that balance was maintained. The danger of this knowledge. They knew that immortality, if misunderstood, could lead to obsession. They knew that cosmic laws, if ignored, could bring chaos. They knew that words, if spoken carelessly, could distort reality. And so, they guarded the secrets with vigilance, revealing them only to initiates who had proven humility and discipline. Their temples became sanctuaries of wisdom, places where fragments of the emerald tablets were preserved in symbols and rituals. Outsiders saw only ceremonies, offerings, and hymns. But beneath the surface, hidden in chants and carvings, the forbidden magic of Thoth endured. The priests were the gatekeepers, ensuring that the knowledge was not erased but concealed, waiting for those who could approach it responsibly. Even as empires rose and fell, the priests carried fragments of Thoth's wisdom forward. They encoded it in myths, hid it in architecture, and whispered it in allegories. Their guardianship ensured that the forbidden magic was never truly lost, only hidden from those who might misuse it. Thus, the priests who guarded the secrets were not merely servants of ritual. They were stewards of eternity, protectors of wisdom, too powerful to be spoken aloud, guardians of the forbidden magic that rulers tried to erase but could never destroy. The forbidden wisdom of Thoth was never confined to words alone. It lived in rituals, elaborate ceremonies of sound, light, and movement designed to align the human soul with cosmic order. These rituals were said to unlock hidden forces, bridging the gap between the mortal and the divine. Yet over time, many of them were erased, concealed, or forgotten, leaving only fragments scattered across history. The rituals often involved geometry, the sacred use of shapes and patterns to mirror the harmony of the universe. Circles symbolized eternity, triangles represented balance, and spirals echoed the cycles of birth and rebirth. To walk within these patterns during ceremony was to step into the rhythm of creation itself. They also relied on sound, the vibration of chants and tones believed to resonate with the hidden laws of reality. Priests trained their voices to carry precise frequencies, each syllable a key that unlocked unseen energies. A single chant, spoken with discipline, could heal, awaken, or transform. Light and fire played their part as well. Torches, mirrors, and polished stones were used to reflect and amplify illumination, symbolizing the eternal flame of consciousness. Rituals performed at dawn or under the stars were meant to connect the soul with celestial cycles, reminding initiates that the heavens and the earth were bound together. These ceremonies were not spectacles for the masses. They were hidden, performed in sanctuaries deep within temples, guarded by priests who understood their power. To misuse them was to invite imbalance, and so they were concealed from ordinary eyes. Over centuries, as empires rose and fell, the rituals faded. Conquerors destroyed temples, scrolls were burned, and oral traditions were silenced. What survived were fragments, echoes in myths, symbols in architecture, and whispers in secret societies. The full ceremonies, with their precise chants and geometric alignments, were lost to time. Yet traces remain. The idea that sound heals, that geometry reflects cosmic truth, that light awakens the spirit. These echoes of Thoth's rituals still linger in modern practices. Meditation, sacred music, and symbolic art all carry faint reminders of ceremonies once performed in the heart of Egypt. The lost rituals of power remind us that wisdom is not only read but lived. They were experiences designed to transform the soul, to awaken the eternal spark within. Though erased from history, their essence endures, waiting for seekers who sense that the body, voice, and spirit together can unlock truths too powerful to be written in words. Among the many mysteries attributed to Thoth, none was more profound than his mastery of sound. In the worldview of ancient Egypt, sound was not simply vibration in the air. It was a force that shaped reality itself. Every word, every chant, every tone carried resonance with the hidden laws of the cosmos. To speak was to create, and to create was to wield power. Thoth was believed to have gifted humanity the ability to use language, not only as communication, but as magic. Words spoken with precision could heal wounds, calm storms, or awaken the spirit. Chants performed in temples were not mere ritual recitations. They were vibrations designed to align the soul with cosmic order. The priests trained their voices carefully, understanding that a single syllable uttered incorrectly could disrupt harmony. Sacred sound was woven into every aspect of Egyptian life. Hymns sung at dawn were meant to greet the sun and ensure its rising. Chants whispered in funerary rites guided the soul through the afterlife. Even the hieroglyphs themselves were tied to sound, each symbol carrying not only visual meaning but tonal power. To write was to preserve vibration, to speak was to release it. The emerald tablets hinted at this secret, describing how sound could open gateways between realms. "Speak the word, and it shall be so," they declared, reminding initiates that creation itself began with divine utterance. In this way, Thoth's magic was inseparable from sound, for the universe was believed to have been spoken into existence. The danger of sacred sound lay in its accessibility. Unlike complex rituals or hidden symbols, sound was available to everyone. Any voice could carry vibration, any word could resonate. This made it both powerful and perilous. To misuse sound was to invite imbalance. To wield it with discipline was to harmonize with eternity. Even as temples crumbled and scrolls burned, the legacy of sacred sound endured. Echoes of Thoth's wisdom can be found in chants, mantras, and prayers across cultures. The idea that vibration heals, that words shape destiny, that sound connects the mortal to the divine, these are modern reflections of ancient truths. Thoth's gift of sacred sound was more than language. It was the reminder that every word carries weight, every tone carries force, and every voice holds the potential to shape reality. In the silence of night, when whispers drift through the air, one can almost hear the echoes of Thoth's forbidden magic, reminding humanity that sound itself is eternal. In the mythology of Thoth, words were never ordinary. They were forces, vibrations, instruments of creation. To speak was to shape reality, and to write was to preserve eternity. This belief transformed language into something sacred, a bridge between the human and the divine. Thoth was credited with giving humanity the gift of writing, a gift that carried immense responsibility. Hieroglyphs were not just letters, they were living symbols, each one infused with layers of meaning. To inscribe a word was to capture a fragment of cosmic truth, to bind thought into form. Priests understood this power and guarded it carefully, teaching initiates that careless words could distort harmony, while precise words could heal, awaken, or transform. The emerald tablets hinted at this secret, declaring that spoken words could command forces unseen. "Speak the word, and it shall be so," they proclaimed, reminding seekers that creation itself began with divine utterance. The universe was believed to have been spoken into existence, and every word uttered thereafter carried echoes of that original act. This was why Thoth's wisdom was forbidden. If ordinary people realized that words could shape destiny, rulers and priests would lose their authority. Why obey decrees when one could speak their own reality into being? Why fear death when chance could guide the soul beyond it? The danger was not in the words themselves, but in their misuse. Throughout history, fragments of this belief survived. In Greece, philosophers spoke of logos, the divine word that ordered the cosmos. In Christianity, the Gospel of John declared, "In the beginning was the Word." In countless cultures, chants, mantras, and prayers carried echoes of Thoth's teachings, reminding humanity that language is more than communication. It is creation. Even today, the idea persists. Words inspire revolutions, heal wounds, and shape identities. A single phrase can change the course of history, just as a careless word can cause destruction. The legacy of Thoth reminds us that language is not neutral, it is power, and with power comes responsibility. Thus, the forbidden wisdom of Thoth endures in every word spoken, every story told, every truth written. Words shape the world because they carry the vibration of creation itself, echoing across time, whispering that reality is not fixed but formed by the voices that dare to speak. When the wisdom of Thoth drifted beyond the sands of Egypt, it did not vanish, it transformed. Greek philosophers, wandering through temples and listening to the echoes of ancient chants, encountered fragments of his teachings. They recognized in Thoth a figure of immense depth, a god whose knowledge bridged the mortal and the divine. Yet, in their own language and culture, they gave him a new name, Hermes Trismegistus, the thrice great. This transformation was not accidental. Hermes, in Greek tradition, was already a messenger of the gods, a patron of communication, and a guide between worlds. To merge him with Thoth was to acknowledge the shared essence of wisdom, writing, and magic. But the Greeks added their own reverence, calling him Trismegistus, thrice great, to emphasize the magnitude of his knowledge. Great in wisdom, great in magic, great in divine authority. The teachings attributed to Hermes Trismegistus became the foundation of Hermetic philosophy, a body of thought that influenced alchemy, mysticism, and even early science. The Emerald Tablet, carried into Europe through translations, was treated as a sacred text, its cryptic lines studied by scholars who believed it held the secret of creation itself. As above, so below became a guiding principle, echoing across centuries in art, philosophy, and spiritual practice. In this way, Thoth's forbidden wisdom survived the attempts to erase it. By becoming Hermes Trismegistus, his teachings slipped into new cultures, disguised yet enduring. Medieval alchemists hunched over smoky laboratories. Renaissance thinkers painted cosmic correspondences into their art, and mystics whispered hermetic truths in secret societies. All of them, knowingly or not, were carrying fragments of Thoth's magic. The connection between Thoth and Hermes reveals the resilience of forbidden knowledge. It shows how wisdom adapts, taking new names and forms to survive. What was once hidden in Egyptian temples reappeared in Greek philosophy, Roman rituals, and European manuscripts. Each culture reshaped the teachings, but the essence remained. The belief that reality is governed by eternal laws, that the soul can ascend, and that knowledge is the key to transformation. Thus, Hermes Trismegistus was not a replacement for Thoth, but a continuation, a new mask for the same eternal figure. Through him, the forbidden magic of Egypt traveled across continents and centuries, ensuring that the wisdom rulers tried to erase would never truly disappear. The wisdom of Thoth did not simply fade into obscurity. It was actively suppressed by empires that feared its liberating power. To rulers, priests, and conquerors, the teachings of immortality, cosmic law, and reality-shaping magic were not harmless philosophy. They were threats to authority, capable of dismantling the structures that kept societies under control. In Egypt, pharaohs restricted access to Thoth's deeper teachings, allowing only select initiates to study fragments of the Emerald Tablets. The masses were given rituals and myths, but the true knowledge was hidden behind allegory. This was the first layer of censorship, concealment disguised as devotion. When foreign empires conquered Egypt, suppression intensified. The Persians, Greeks, and Romans each encountered fragments of Thoth's wisdom. Some preserved pieces, translating them into new languages, but others destroyed temples and burned scrolls, fearing that forbidden knowledge could spark rebellion. To them, Thoth's teachings were not sacred. They were dangerous tools that could empower the oppressed. Later, during the rise of strict religious orthodoxy, the campaign against forbidden knowledge became even more severe. Anything resembling magic was condemned as heresy. Libraries were burned, manuscripts lost, and seekers silenced. The wisdom of Thoth was branded sorcery, its practitioners persecuted, and its symbols erased from public memory. Yet, despite every attempt, the knowledge endured. Hermetic philosophy carried fragments into Greece and Rome. Alchemists preserved echoes in medieval Europe. Mystics whispered truths in secret societies. Each empire tried to ban the wisdom, but none succeeded in destroying it completely. The banning of Thoth's teachings reveals a paradox. The more rulers tried to erase them, the more they became legendary. Forbidden knowledge gained allure precisely because it was hidden. Seekers across centuries were drawn to the mystery, convinced that truths too powerful to be spoken aloud must be worth pursuing. Thus, the story of Thoth's wisdom is not only about preservation, but about resistance. Empires banned it, priests concealed it, conquerors tried to erase it, yet it survived, carried forward in fragments, waiting for those who dared to seek beyond the boundaries of sanctioned truth. The forbidden wisdom of Thoth was not erased because it was false. It was hidden because it was too powerful. Those who ruled understood that knowledge is the greatest force in the world, and if ordinary people discovered the secrets of immortality, cosmic law, and reality-shaping magic, the structures of authority would collapse. To the pharaohs, priests, and later conquerors, Thoth's teachings posed a dangerous question. What happens when humanity realizes it carries divinity within itself? If a farmer knew his soul was eternal, why would he bow to a king? If a scribe understood that words could shape reality, why would he obey decrees? If artisans learned that balance between light and darkness was the true path, why would they need priests to dictate morality? The danger was not in the wisdom itself, but in its accessibility. Thoth's magic was subtle, rooted in sound, symbol, and consciousness forces available to everyone. Unlike weapons or armies, this power could not be monopolized. It was democratic in nature, offering liberation to all who sought it, and liberation to rulers meant chaos. Thus, the knowledge was concealed. Priests encoded it in hieroglyphs, cloaked it in allegory, and reserved it for initiates who had proven discipline and humility. The emerald tablets were written in riddles, ensuring that only those prepared for balance could unlock their truths. To the masses, the wisdom was erased, replaced with rituals that maintained order but concealed deeper realities. Empires that followed intensified the suppression. Conquerors burned scrolls, toppled temples, and branded forbidden knowledge as sorcery. Organized religions condemned it as heresy, fearful that direct access to the divine would undermine their authority. The wisdom of Thoth was hidden not because it was dangerous to humanity, but because it was dangerous to those who sought to control humanity. And yet, concealment ensured survival. By hiding the teachings in symbols, myths, and allegories, the priests preserved them for future generations. The wisdom was never destroyed, only disguised, waiting for seekers who dared to look beyond the surface. The reason this knowledge was hidden from humanity is simple. it promised freedom. Freedom from fear of death, freedom from dependence on rulers, freedom from ignorance. To those in power, such freedom was unacceptable. To seekers, it was the very essence of truth. Despite centuries of suppression, destruction, and concealment, fragments of Thoth's forbidden wisdom managed to survive. These traces, scattered across cultures and epochs, became the hidden threads that wove his legacy into the fabric of human history. Some of the most enduring traces were symbols carved into stone. Temples, tombs, and monuments carried hieroglyphs that encoded cosmic truths. Even when their meanings were forgotten, the carvings remained, silent guardians of wisdom waiting to be rediscovered. Conquerors could burn scrolls, but they could not erase stone. Other traces lived in texts, translated and transformed. The emerald tablet, carried into Greece and later Europe, became a cornerstone of Hermetic philosophy. Its cryptic lines, as above, so below, echoed across centuries, inspiring alchemists, mystics, and philosophers. Though the original context was lost, the essence endured, reshaped by each generation that encountered it. Fragments also survived in rituals and practices. Chants, geometric alignments, and sacred sounds found their way into other traditions. Meditation, mantras, and symbolic art all carry echoes of Thoth's teachings, even if their Egyptian origins are forgotten. The idea that vibration heals, that geometry reflects cosmic order, and that the soul is eternal are all traces of his wisdom. Perhaps the most subtle traces are found in ideas that refuse to die. The belief that knowledge liberates, that the soul transcends death, that reality can be shaped by consciousness. These concepts appear again and again in philosophy, religion, and science. They are whispers of Thoth's forbidden magic, resurfacing whenever humanity dares to look beyond the surface. The survival of these traces reveals a profound truth. Knowledge cannot be destroyed. It can be hidden, suppressed, or distorted, but it endures, waiting for rediscovery. Thoth's wisdom flows like an underground river, invisible yet eternal, surfacing in unexpected places, reminding humanity that truth is never erased, only concealed. Thus, the traces that survived history are more than relics. They are invitations, urging seekers to piece together fragments, to listen to whispers, and to awaken the eternal spark within. The forbidden wisdom of Thoth remains alive, not in full form, but in echoes that continue to shape the world. Though the temples of Egypt have crumbled and the chants of priests have faded into silence, the essence of Thoth's forbidden wisdom still lingers in the modern world. His magic, once hidden in symbols and rituals, has echoed across centuries, resurfacing in practices, philosophies, and sciences that continue to shape human thought today. One of the clearest echoes lies in the power of sound and vibration. Ancient chants, designed to heal and transform, have parallels in modern practices such as mantras, meditation, and sound therapy. The belief that vibration can restore balance to the body and mind is a direct reflection of Thoth's teachings on sacred sound. Another echo can be found in geometry and design. The sacred patterns of Egyptian temples, circles, triangles, spirals, reappear in modern architecture, art, and even physics. Concepts like fractals, symmetry, and the golden ratio carry the same message, that the universe is built on harmony, and by aligning with it, humanity can glimpse eternity. The Emerald Tablet's principle of as above, so below continues to resonate, In science, it appears in the study of microcosm and macrocosm atoms, reflecting galaxies, patterns repeating across scales. In spirituality, it inspires the idea that inner transformation mirrors outer reality. This timeless phrase remains one of the most enduring gifts of Thoth's wisdom. Even in language and consciousness, echoes remain. The idea that words shape reality is reflected in affirmations, storytelling, and psychology. Modern thinkers recognize that language influences perception, and perception shapes destiny, a truth Thoth encoded thousands of years ago. Perhaps the most profound echo is the belief in the eternal spark within humanity. Across religions, philosophies, and sciences, the idea persists that the human soul is more than flesh, that consciousness transcends death, and that knowledge is the key to awakening. This is the heartbeat of Thoth's forbidden magic, still alive in the modern age. These echoes remind us that wisdom cannot be erased. It adapts, transforms, and resurfaces in new forms, waiting for seekers to recognize its presence. Thoth's magic flows through meditation halls, scientific theories, sacred art, and whispered prayers, proving that forbidden knowledge is never truly lost, only hidden, waiting to be rediscovered. If the forbidden wisdom of Thoth were to resurface fully in the modern world, the consequences would be profound. For centuries, fragments of his teachings have survived in whispers, symbols, and echoes, but the complete knowledge, the ability to shape reality, harmonize cosmic forces, and awaken the eternal spark, has remained hidden. What happens if it returns? The first impact would be on human consciousness. People would realize that they are not powerless beings bound by fate, but participants in creation itself. The understanding that words, sound, and intention shape reality would transform how humanity perceives itself. Fear of death would diminish, replaced by awareness of the soul's immortality. Society itself would be shaken. Structures of authority, governments, religions, and institutions built on control would face collapse. If individuals discovered they could access divine wisdom directly, the need for intermediaries would vanish. Knowledge would no longer be monopolized. It would become a force of liberation. Yet with liberation comes danger. The return of Thoth's wisdom would demand discipline and humility. Without balance, seekers could misuse the knowledge, leading to chaos instead of harmony. The temptation to wield reality-shaping power for selfish ends would be immense. Just as in ancient times, the danger lies not in the wisdom itself, but in how humanity chooses to use it. On a global scale, the return of this knowledge could spark a renaissance of science and spirituality. Physics might merge with mysticism, medicine with sound and vibration, architecture with sacred geometry. Humanity could rediscover forgotten ways of healing, creating, and connecting with the cosmos. The line between science and magic would blur, revealing that both are expressions of the same eternal laws. Ultimately, if Thoth's forbidden wisdom returns, humanity will face a choice: to embrace it as a path to enlightenment, or to misuse it as a tool of domination. The outcome will depend not on the knowledge itself, but on the readiness of those who receive it. The return of this knowledge would not simply change the world, it would change what it means to be human. It would remind us that within every soul lies the spark of eternity, waiting to be awakened. The ancients left behind more than temples, tablets, and symbols. They left a warning, a final message carved into stone, whispered in chants, and hidden in allegories. It was not a threat, but a plea. Use this wisdom with balance, or it will consume you. Thoth's teachings promised immortality, cosmic harmony, and the ability to shape reality. But the ancients knew that power without humility leads to ruin. They warned that those who sought knowledge for domination would fall into chaos, while those who approached with reverence would find enlightenment. The final warning was simple, yet profound. Truth is eternal, but humanity must be ready to receive it. If revealed too soon, forbidden wisdom could fracture societies, ignite arrogance, and unleash forces beyond control. Thus, the ancients concealed it, ensuring that only seekers who walked the path of discipline and balance could unlock its secrets. Across centuries, this warning echoed in myths, religions, and philosophies. It reminded humanity that wisdom is not a weapon, but a responsibility. To awaken the eternal spark within is to carry the burden of harmony, to speak words that heal, to act in balance, and to honor the divine within all things. The ancients did not hide the knowledge out of cruelty. They hid it out of love, knowing that one day humanity would be ready. Their final warning endures. Seek with humility, awaken with balance, and remember that power without wisdom is destruction. And now, as the story of Thoth's forbidden magic draws to a close, let the echoes of the ancients settle gently in your mind. Imagine the temples quiet under the stars, the chants fading into silence, and the wisdom resting in stone until dawn. The journey has been long, the secrets deep, and the warnings timeless. It is time to rest, to let the symbols and whispers drift into dreams. The ancients would say, knowledge waits for the seeker, but the seeker must also wait for the right time. Tonight, that time is sleep. Good night.